So a lot of people are talking about Pauper. The Grand Prix in England had just about 300 members in their Pauper tournament. At GP Indy, there was nearly 200. So is Pauper the new standard? Is it here to stay? Is it the kind of format that you want to buy into right now, where cards that costed 25 cents 2, 3, 4 months ago are now $5 or $6? I'm going to make a case why Pauper is merely a flash in the pan. However, still a good format. So Kevin and I from Rogue Deck Builder have been talking about the Pauper format. And my opinion is that the only real winners right now, long term, are the card sellers who have been sitting on thousands of copies of Gush that they couldn't sell for a nickel, and now they're selling for $3, $4, $5, or many of the other cards I'm going to show you. That is undeniable. That is an undeniable drawback. And in Kevin's video, he spends a good amount of time kind of poo-pooing that, saying that, well, sure, the format's not going to cost that much, or it's not going to be a cheap format anymore, but it's diverse, or but, you know, it's not Frontier and it's not Tiny Leaders. And while we agree that it is not Frontier and it is not Tiny Leaders, those formats didn't come out at a time in which things were this bad in Standard. Tiny Leaders, okay, it was a subsection of a subsection of a game. It launched when Commander was at an all-time high, and Commander continues to be pretty popular. Frontier was a response to the modern metagame kind of stinking and the availability of cards and things like that. First, I want to point out that while cost isn't everything, it's worth pointing out that we see cards like Gush in November costing 50 cents, peaking at $2 a piece and already climbing up again. $6.40 in paper. And remember now that everybody is talking about Pauper. I would not be surprised at all when these prices continue to rise. Oubliette, another popular Pauper card, currently was never that cheap, to be honest with you. Here's Ixalan's release. It was about 20 bucks at that time. It is now $50 for a common, a card that you will run 3 of, maybe, in that deck. Mono Black Control. Ancient Ziggurat. A card that was virtually worthless at Ixalan. Release. Sorry. I think I was, yeah, paper only. Okay, right? Now $9. This is what, I'm sorry, that was online. So we had a card that was about, what is it, $3, $2 here? Yep, $3.50 is now $9. Tortured Existence in paper. This card was 30, 40 cents forever. Now peaked at $3. Went down, but it's coming back up again. Ash Barrens, another common, was always at about $3. Now $8, almost $9. Standard Bearer, a card that sat at 50 cents, went up to $8, went down to a paltry $4 for a common. So as you can see, and the list goes on and on and on and on. So while we agree that Pauper is a fun format, in fact, I played a mono black deck in Pauper. I also played a burn deck in Pauper. It's not the biggest reason people played Pauper is because it was cheap. Because especially on Magic Online, you could get these cards, right? It's not easy to go find these random uncommons in like a local game store. So as demand increases for these cards, you're not going to see them ever bottom back out until such a point in which the format dies. It will inevitably go back to the levels at which it was 2 or 3 months ago, maybe keeping a few extra people on the game or in the game. But ultimately, it's a Magic Online thing. So local game stores cannot find these obscure commons at any reasonable price. So decks that used to be $5 or $10, which got everyone into the game, we can already see creeping up to $60, $40, $67. And watch these prices: $52, $68, $122, $97. Okay? If you go into, let's say, Elves, $60 up front here, well, it's actually $70.45 if you want to give your money to a terrible company. These are rapidly increasing, faster than these websites can even maintain. If you look at Wooburg, still maintaining a decent price. Now, I am excited about a $50 standard deck, basically, right? But let's look at another argument that Kevin makes about the format being so diverse. Is it, though? Is it really that diverse? At a competitive level, it's only slightly more diverse than the current standard format. Would you believe that? Here we have 10%, 9%, 8%, 7%, 7%, okay? So basically you have 10, 20, 35, 40. You got more than 60% of the meta in the top 8 decks. Let's look at standard. We have the exact same thing. 10% Grixis Energy, Mono Red Aggro, 10%, Mardu Vehicles, 8%, 7%, 7%, 4%, 4%. It's no more standard, or it's no more diverse than the current standard meta. The only draw is I can buy the #1 deck in standard for $314. Let's see what it is more currently, $315. This deck is only $60. That is a huge plus. But nobody's really arguing that these cards aren't cheap. My point is, what's going to happen, and I've talked to many, many large sellers who are laughing their way to the bank right now as they pull boxes and boxes out of their back room stacked with commons that they're now selling that have no cost basis, that they're now selling for $8 each, $5 each, $4. Play sets of commons going for $20, $30, $40, $50. It's a gold rush for those that sorted their commons properly. Guys like Rudy from Alpha Investments is making a fortune off Pauper. Here's the problem. When you invest in cards that are in Pauper, when the meta shifts, when the format is less popular, and I assure you it will peak in Q1 of this year, those cards are going to go from $10 each, $7 each, back down to a nickel and become essentially unsellable. Most cards you invest in standard maintain some value. The most popular ones that maybe see play in other formats or Commander can hold some amount of value. But in Pauper, when it crashes, and it will, you're going to lose essentially everything. And it's easy to talk about how diverse the format is right now because, well, it is. But when there are larger Pauper tournaments with bigger cash prizes, the meta is going to get tighter. Why do you think the standard meta is so tight in most cases? It's because the pros solve the meta. While the card pool for Pauper is much larger, the incentive to solve it isn't quite as large as standard is right now. That's what Wizards of the Coast supports. And that brings me to another point why Pauper is dangerous. Pauper is really fun, in my opinion, and I think people should play it if they can. I still would recommend sticking to Magic Online or Untap or Xmage or something like that where you can play for free. But Wizards only supports formats that are going to sell packs. And while Kevin accurately points out that there have been some good Pauper reprints in some of the Masters sets, they often don't sell packs. Wizards of the Coast isn't going to, in my opinion, support a format until such a point in which they can sell singles out of that format and make money, right? So, in my opinion, decks in the Pauper format are going to be well over $100. Some of the top tier decks will get close to $200 at some point. Then Wizards might think, okay, I'm going to dip my D into this format and pick some of the best Pauper cards that we can print that might not have a foil printing, where you might have some foil commons that have some good value, that might help move packs, that might help EV. But until such a point in which Magic Wizards properly supports the format, not just maintaining a ban and restricted list, when it's on the Pro Tour, then we can talk. But for right now, everybody's furiously buying into the format. Articles are going to praise the professor for their 300-person event at Grand Prix United Kingdom or wherever it was. I'm just happy people showed up to play Magic, okay? Let's be clear. I'm just happy that people showed up to play Magic. But if it gets too much attention, the format will get solved. Once the format's solved, the incentive to get into it for most people is gone. If you can play Standard for $300 or Pauper for $300 or $200, you're going to play Standard. The vast majority of people are going to play Standard. Some people will play both, right? Standard is in the worst shape I've seen it in modern history, right? I mean, in the last, what do we say, 5 years, Standard has never been worse. So let me ask you a question. And again, I'm not saying you shouldn't play Pauper. I'm just saying be careful. Is it that, now Pauper has been around for many, many years, okay? Many years. Now, do we think Pauper just, you know, people finally heard of it now and that's why it's so popular? Popular? Or is that the card quality is as bad as it's been in 20 years? That the market's flooded with new cards that people don't want anymore. And that the Standard format is as bad as it's ever been. It is my assertion that the Pauper format's growth is an inverse to the Standard format's fall. And once Standard gets fixed, and it will, everyone's going to stop playing Pauper. Some people will keep playing it. But what we've seen, what we're going to see in Q1 of 2018 is peak Pauper. And I think whatever keeps people in the game is good. And it's hard to argue against people playing Magic, which puts me in a weird position. But the Pauper format is a response to the Standard format being garbage. It's a response to the card quality being garbage. It's a response to high-priced cards. Once the cards in the format creep up, that's going to be the first step back. Once local game stores start hosting events and they have to bring in all these commons and uncommons, that's going to raise them up even more. Meanwhile, stores like Star City Games, Channel Fireball are sitting on warehouses of these cards, just like the diamond industry, and they're going to slow roll them out to make sure you all pay a fortune for them. Pauper was great when the decks were $5, $10. Pauper is not great when the decks are $100. When Standard gets fixed, Pauper will be back to where it needs to be, a nice alternative to playing competitive Magic. It's a fine format, fine for you to spend your money on, but don't overspend. Play in areas where you don't have to spend a fortune on it, because isn't it curious how Channel Fireball is so happy to sell you cards for $5 each that were worthless? It's no different than grab bags. They're able to sell you these cards that are worthless. And not even that. Stuff like Nettle Sentinel, get $10 from you. Or Quirion Ranger, $10 for a Visions common. Guys who've been sitting on cards, bulk, well sorted, are laughing. Gleeful Sabotage, common, $8. Relica Progenitus, another $5 card. Spider Silk Armor, $5. What's going to happen when everyone goes up and buys all these obscure Mercadian Mask commons? That $4 is going to be $8 or $10. And this Elves deck is going to be $160. I love playing Magic, but don't get fooled into buying deep into Pauper. It's not going to last at this level. The format's not going to die because it existed before it peaked. But it's really not that much more diverse than Standard. It's just different. People are bored right now. When we have a good Standard again, people are going to go back to Standard and forget all about Pauper. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to be notified the next time I upload a video, make sure you subscribe and click that damn bell so you actually get notified. If you want to support the cause of this channel, it survives based on the amazingly gracious support of my patrons. Link is in the description if you'd like to help out.